Hi everybody, welcome to Nviso, where today I'll be showing you who we are as a company and what we can do to help you in improving your cybersecurity posture. We're in the city center of Brussels, where we have been since 2013, and ever since we've also been expanding across Europe with offices in Germany, Greece and Austria. This all driven by our mission, which is to safeguard Europe's foundation from cyber attacks. The 4 values we keep in mind when doing business. First of all, we are proud. We are experts in what we do, so we are really proud of the work that we deliver. Second of all, we break barriers. We find innovative ways to solve the problems that we or our customers may face. As a third, we care. We care about people, we care about companies, and we care about our partnerships. And last but not least, we don't BS around. We keep the promises that we make and we do what we set out to do. Let's work together on these values and see how we can strengthen each other. At Nviso, we are with 350 experts in different areas of expertise. The first area of expertise is governance and risk. Here we can act as a CISO at our customer sites, help them prepare for incident with incident playbooks and plans, and also provide security awareness trainings. The second pillar in our offering is software security assessment. Here we help our customers with pen testing, red teaming and purple teaming, all the way up to assessments on IoT devices. This will help them develop secure applications. The services in these first 2 areas can also be offered by Nviso through Shield. If you have any projects or questions, feel free to contact me. Besides preparing organizations for possible cyber threats, we also help them mitigate damages in case an event does occur. This is done by our incident response services, or CSIRT. This also includes threat intelligence, forensics and malware reverse engineering. The 4th and 5th area of expertise are cloud security services and managed security services. The cloud security services team will help in setting up the Microsoft security stack, but also has knowledge on other cloud security providers. The managed security services consist of 2 parts. First of all, we have our managed detect and response services, on which our managed security operations center monitors all our customers' environments and react to events if necessary. On top of that, we offer posture and vulnerability management, which helps in prioritizing vulnerability remediation. To offer these services in the best way possible, we make sure that we have the necessary expertise. We also like to show this expertise on a lot of different stages. One of our founding partners, Erik van Buggenhout, has given keynotes on the RSA conference of 23 and 24. We have presented for the United Nations, and we also have a lot of SANS instructors who work at Nviso. SANS is a globally recognized institution in giving cybersecurity trainings and certifications. We have a lot of courses that we co-author and instruct, and one of these instructors is Maxime de Weert, who has also worked closely with Shield on this project. Maxime will now give you a more detailed overview on our XDR MDR SOAR offering that we can offer you through Shield.
Thanks very much, Jeroen. So I wanted to go a bit in the spirit of the collaboration with Shield and what we're offering here as Nviso through Shield to you. I think one of the first things to understand is that the idea was to make sure that you are ready and that you have all of the tools that you need in order to combat these cyber threats that we're all facing. Yeah? And so the idea is that we have tools that can allow us to do proper protection, proper detection and response, and do it in an efficient way. And this is why we are proposing as a starting point for you to be able to buy the right licenses that unlock the right technology tools, technology and the tools you need in order to start with fighting against those cyber threats. And so we are proposing here to use Microsoft. As you can see on the magic quadrant from Gartner, they make those of quite a lot of technology. Here they've done that of EDR. Microsoft is one of the top leaders in that space. And also we currently, as in being a managed security provider, we have already a lot of our customers that are using this technology stack, and which we know provides a decent opportunity to do the detection and response towards cyber threats that we're seeing. So we have the minimum that we need in order to be able to deliver any type of services, which would be the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint license. Yeah, so this is just the EDR component, but we really would propose to you that you go towards a full Microsoft security license, whether that's an E5 security license, A5 security license, or an F5 security license, depending again on what type of users you already have. Happy to have a discussion on this more in detail, of course, later on. But once you have one of those licenses, it basically unlocks the full suite of Defender tools in your environment. So that would be Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Defender for Office 365, so email protection, Microsoft Defender for identity and Entra ID protection, so everything that is basically identity related. We also have the Microsoft Defender for cloud apps in there. So all the usage of cloud apps and so on in your environment would be covered with this. And so we do see that a lot of modern attacks, they use multiple vectors to get into your environment. And this is why an XDR tool, so that has EDR plus those other components, is quite important. So that's where that E5 or A5 security license comes into play. We have a lot of additional support that we can deliver next to just the licenses based on helping you set everything up and making sure that if there are any questions, that's something we can discuss for later. Although, just wanted to be very clear, what's included in not just the license resale, we also help you with the project management of deploying it itself, and some assistance with that deployment. And also we've built our own best practice configuration for Microsoft Defender XDR that we have built throughout the years, working at multiple environments with multiple customers to make sure that we have all the content in place. That's the starting point. Once you have those licenses, there are basically two scenarios then if you want to go to step further. And that step further becomes a very important element in any modern SOC environment. If you want to have a modern SOC, security operations center, then you need to be able to automate. And automation is one of the things that works best by having a SOAR tool, so security orchestration, automation, and response tool as the heart of your SOC. Yeah, and so it should no longer be a SIEM tool, which is very traditional. It should be a SOAR tool. Now, there's multiple ways that SOAR can be integrated into your environment, and this is where we've come up with two scenarios. The first scenario is for organizations that say, look, we want to deal with these alerts ourselves that come from these security tools, or we already have an existing SOC, or we already have a security team that is handling this, and we just want to make them more efficient. Well, in that case, we've built a setup with Microsoft Sentinel and Logic apps and our playbooks that come on top of this, a starting packet so that you can immediately get started with those automations. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is where for organizations that say, look, we do want to outsource a component or the full handling of those alerts towards a third party. If that is something that is of your interest, then we can offer our full managed detection and response solution, which includes automations as part of our service. We use Palo Alto XOR for that then, which is something that will run in our environment. But the biggest advantage for you is that the minute that you decide to go towards that managed detection and response is that it will come as no additional cost to you. And so it's basically running purely at Nviso set. But let's have a look at those two scenarios and do a bit of a deep dive. So the first scenario, again, is for organizations that want to be more efficient with the current teams or with an internal SOC that they have and have no plans of outsourcing this in the near future. Here you can see visually that we will help you to set up Sentinel, we'll help you to set up the Azure Logic apps, we will do the deployment of our playbooks, of our automations, starting library. Typically, those are playbooks that deal with the initial triage, the enrichment, the correlation, and then some response actions as well. So those are all part of those initial playbooks. We'll help you deploy this. We'll fine-tune them so that they are a bit tailored towards your environment. And then there's the handover of the platforms. Now, important to understand is that in this setup, the consumption of those logic apps, so every time they run those automations, there is a small cost associated to this. This will be charged directly by Microsoft because it's a Sentinel or it's an Azure cost, I would say, directly to you. So that's a bit the setup. We provide you with the content, but the technology and how everything runs will be charged by Microsoft directly to you. Again, we have some optional additional support that we can offer you, but happy to go more in details if you're interested in this scenario in a follow-up meeting. Second scenario then is really for organizations that say, again, I want to outsource part of this or fully outsource it. Now, why is this different? Why are we using then Palo Alto XOR here instead of the logic apps? Is because the automations that we have built, the playbook structure that we have built, the framework that we've built here is quite advanced. And so at this moment, there's a lot more that we can do with that setup than what we can build in the Logic app setup. We can replicate a lot of the things, but it's already there. We've already built this quite advanced, and it's running for all of our current customers in our managed services that we are offering. And so again, this comes at no additional cost to you. We will again deploy everything, do the connection towards your environments, making sure that everything is set up correctly, and we will then have the advanced playbooks automatically part of that service, right? So it really comes as a big advantage to you. And I think it's important to understand here that if you have any plans whatsoever to ever outsource a part of your SOC handling to a third party, that if you start to build your own automations, it's not always sure that a third party would be able to use those because they typically come with their own automations. And this is what we're also doing here. So it's really a crossroads to decide, am I going to invest in this myself, or am I going to get that expertise as part of the service delivered through a managed detection and response service? What is included in that second scenario? Again, the same as we had in that first scenario. We have our kickoff meetings. We'll set everything up. Again, deployment of Microsoft XDR, the SOAR platform integration. Important to understand is that the licensing model here, for this, since there's no cost for you for SOAR and for all the playbooks, is basically the MDR cost, and that is handled per user. But that's something, again, that we can go into in detail in a follow-up meeting. But again, important for you to understand, you have all of the automations from day one that are running have been fine-tuned by us over the course of 5 years at no cost to you, immediately running for your environment. And again, this also includes some quite advanced remediation playbooks so that we can quite quickly, if there is something identified, respond, even if that is at night, even in the weekend, even during holidays, because we run a true 24/7. We want to give you a bit more idea of how we've built all of these things, because, and again, we more than happy to, in a follow-up meeting, go even more in detail. But the most important element is that we see a lot of organizations make a mistake of jumping into these automations immediately without really having an idea of what's the framework here? How are we going to deal with these automations? This is what we've already built. You can see part of this already in the picture. I think the most important element is that we have built a framework that is future-proof and that allows you to plug in multiple technologies into this framework without needing to rebuild everything from an automation perspective. But again, more details on that if needed later. This is a bit more a high-level representation of how our managed detection and response service looks like. You can see that Nitro platform in the middle. That's basically that Palo Alto XOR stack that we have. You can see Microsoft Sentinel. We will set this up anyway, even if you're not using it yet for log sources, because we use it as a way to centralize all the alerts from Defender XDR. You can see that there's a lot of automation that will happen. Of course, we still have analysts, so we do not have a fully automated SOC. Want to be very clear on this. We've automated as much as possible, but there's still a significant team that's behind this that is running, again, in 3 shifts, 24/7, that follow up on alerts. What you will have from us is we will escalate things to you if needed through a ticketing system. Again, we can have those discussions later on. There is bidirectional syncs that are possible too. And there will be a portal available to you, which I'm going to show to you in a minute, that basically shows you all of the details of the service. It's basically a web front end for that Nitro platform. So in the as part of the service as well, we have SLAs, obviously, so happy to discuss those more in detail. But the SLAs that we typically offer for all of our managed detection and response services is a mean time to notify. So this basically means something is an alert is generated, it's picked up by us, and then basically we notify you to understand whether it has it's already a true positive and action needs to happen, or if it's a false positive and it has been closed already by us. And this is something that we're quite good at, triaging out those false positives. But so that means for a critical, we have a maximum mean time to notify of 30 minutes. And obviously we have escalation matrices and paths and so on, things that we will discuss during the onboarding process. Here you can see more detail of what is included in that client portal. Again, all of the metrics that you are interested in of the service, the SLAs are in there. You can see all of the actions that we have taken. You can follow all the audit trails. You can see what has been closed, what's still open, and so on. And one of the most important elements, I feel, is that funnel that you see in the middle. It's all of the alerts that come in that we've been able to process down to, in this example here, from 844 alerts towards 3 that really needed extra attention. So these were the important incidents. And of those, then we have in the last part of that graphic, you can see 0, but is the amount of impacted cases that would be in your environment. So we really show you that added value. The idea is that we deburden your teams, that they can focus on other activities. And if it's really necessary, we still escalate and work together to get it solved. That's the idea.
Of course, we understand that for every organization, the current situation as well as the roadmap is completely different. So let's discuss together and see with which scenario we can help you the best. Feel free to contact me on the details you see here.